Well, hi there, Winning Ways fans, and welcome to another show where we've got a very interesting lineup today. Unfortunately, Laf is taking the day off. You know, he deserves a break, the poor man. He's, under a bit of pressure. So we have Kevin Shea with us. Kev, nice to have you with us.
Yeah, it's only a pleasure. Sometimes not always good news to be here because, then Paul's having a break. So
well, he's under severe stress. He's doing this chemo, but he's as upbeat as you can believe. You've never seen a man that's
that's the best news we like to hear. I mean, I've been a little bit slack this last week. I've been a bit busy, but I haven't been to see him. But I'm sure this week we'll catch up, and hopefully his wife's still in town. I can Jan's in town, so we can get all the updates on how things are going and let the fans know exactly how our good friend is.
Excellent. Well, we've got a full show. We're going to give you the usual lineup, and then we'll be chatting to Graham Hawkins in your call, where we've got the whole business lined up as far as champion season is concerned, and we'll be getting the feedback from there. But let's go and have a look at our three to follow.
Distorted humor. He's probably one of his best sons at stud.
I'll have another. Wins the Derby. Lilacs and Lace, 48-1 upset.
He's just a big, strong, leggy horse.
Right, well, we're going to go to Kenilworth, 15th of August. That was Saturday. And when you see these expensive price fillies step out, you have a very close look. And Bella stepped out at Kenilworth. And my goodness, did this win. Let's go and have a look at it. Kev,
yeah.
Can you see it there? Do you know what?
Yeah,
it's a grey Mr. Break with the white colours. And it's now at the back of the field, right on the inside, in Susan Kalmanson's colours, and it's miles behind them.
Yeah, listen, James, these dynasty fillies, when they're good, but this filly is under pressure all the way. You can see Bernard Faderherbe hasn't left her alone once. He's tried to keep her in the race. The going is heavy as hell, not easy. Gets onto the fence. You can see she actually even comes off the fence, always under a hard ride, but gee whiz, is this some kind of filly? I mean, she's going through there now, always chasing. You would think that the front two horses are going to keep going. The horse the closest to us, I think in the Marcus colours, just rolls off.
Yeah, rolls off
just
the fence.
Tumbles off there now like that, and this filly comes through under the hands of Bernard, and gee whiz, did she win well. Very well bred, and she made a mockery of him, easing up at the finish, and the third horse is maybe 6-7 lengths behind them. Something serious to follow. I don't know, Justin Snaith's got a lot of good fillies, but I mean, he'll be very happy with this. I was very impressed.
The third horse, 7 1/4 lengths away. The second horse has got some form, and she just put them to bed. This could be the next superstar.
Yeah, this could be another one of the Snaith stars coming to Durban, hopefully, and wait until you see this over a little bit of ground. It looks like it's just bred to go around the corner, and she looks an absolute superstar.
Well, she's a half-sister to the ill-fated Rabia. She's bred by Cheveley Stud, costs a lot of money. He was a champion in his own right, and this would be one for the paddocks anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, Rabia started favourite in July, and that ill-fated accident broke his back leg, which is very seldom done on the racetracks. But I mean, with that kind of blood in him, you just know how good he is. She is.
Right. Well, we're going to move on, and we're going to have a look at Turfentine on the same day, and we went to race 4. Very interesting. Jeff Woodruff stepped out one that was beautifully bred as well. It won. The second horse by New Approach, trained by Johan Janssen van Rensburg, that ran second. That's the one we picked up, but we think they're both worth following, these horses. Let's have a close look at New Predator.
Yeah, it comes out quite well, James. A little bit awkward, but it comes out well. And a strange thing to see, Pierre Stradum on this Captain L. He goes down the inside, and not too many horses have won down the inside at Turfentine for ages. But the new Predators in the middle of the course with Washong mowing on, and she, looks like it knows what to do. I mean, it's there, but Washong just keeping it interested. It looks like I know the going's very dry in Johannesburg, but there's a lot of kickback coming up. But he's not in any kickback, so that's one for the books.
Well, the winner's not even in the picture. It's on the left-hand side, and you'll see it's absolutely clear. And the third horse, Tegan's Boy, comes running on the outside in the blue colours, but well beaten. The winner absolutely has him stone cold the whole way. But I like the way this horse ran on a New Predator. As I say, he's Australian bred, very nice horse.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see him now. Washong just giving him a couple of reminders, changes his stick. Striker's got it home and hosed. And another one, James, is 5-6 lengths to the third horse. I mean, these two horses look like they could be serious horses.
What interests me is you've been in this business a long time. This time of the year, certainly in Johannesburg, and even in Cape Town, you never ever see people stepping out really good horses like this. It doesn't seem to bother them anymore. They just step out whenever they're ready.
Yeah, that's what I think it is, James. When these horses are showing now, I mean, there's two top trainers. When those horses are showing them, they step them out and they go. I mean, if maybe 2 months ago they just weren't ready for it. But I mean, Jeff Woodruff is a master. They got a string of lovely horses. I mean, this one is out of Promise from My Heart. He used to train her. She was absolute champion, and they've gone and bought them and stepped them out at the right time. You'll see these horses must probably be in Durban next season. They're really, really, really top horses.
Interesting, the owner is a new person to me, Edmund Slew, do you know him?
No, I haven't heard of him, but there's always new blood in the game. As you saw in Scottsville, a guy had been in the game for 6 weeks and had his first winner yesterday. So it's great to see new blood in the game, and what a gentleman to be with, Jeff Woodruff.
Absolutely right. Well, let's go to KwaZulu-Natal. We went to the races yesterday at Scottsville. Anthony Delpeche jumps on a horse for Mike Miller. You've got to take note, especially when they don't stop backing it. And this is a very, very nice horse. Let's go and pick up Executive Power at the start. Yellow and black colours. I think they're Michelle Nerak's colours. Really lovely, lovely horse, and absolutely canted in.
Yeah, James, you can see this horse had been well tried and tested. He came out in front, and he never, ever once in the race looked like he was going to get beat. I spoke to a lot of the trainers before the races, and there weren't too many first-timers that were out there that were tuned up, but one or two of them had run, so it was a very, very impressive win. I think Mark Miller knows how to get them ready, and for backers of this horse, I didn't really have to sweat at all. There was a little bit of a gloss taken off this race when variable pitch was scratched, but I think if variable pitch run, this horse would have murdered him. He actually never once looks like he's going to get beat, and been by warm white nights out of a Var mare, you would think he'd be a little bit hot and a little bit sweaty, and Mark Miller says he is just the most laid-back gentleman horse to work with, and I think we're gonna see a lot of this horse. He really knows what to do here. I saw him come into the winner's box afterwards. He wasn't even breathing. He wasn't even blowing. He just done this with effortless ease, and Anthony gives him the seal of approval. And there's another one for Durban. I mean, we've seen one in Cape Town, we've seen one in Joburg. It looks like it's going to be a good season coming up with these babies.
Well, the interesting thing is bred by Waterford Stud, the Sards, and Mike Miller's been a great supporter of theirs, and lovely to see, our managing director there, Michelle Nerak, with all the Mauritian connection. They all got a share in Robert Maingard and all the right guys, and Mike's got a share himself. And I heard before the race that this horse beat the good horse that won the Group 2.
King's Knight.
Very easily.
Yeah, well, listen, the talk was out. He's worked with horses like King's Knight and Sheikh Prashi when he was there. But Mark says he found this horse as a yearling on the farm. He just went and picked him. He just bought him. I think he paid 200,000 for him, and he phoned Peric Mujan. He said to Peric, "Just come and have a look at this horse. This is a belter." And he's 100% right. And it's what nicer people, Michelle Narak, the main guards, they were all there too. I'm sure they would have had a little bit nibble. Started short, but
yeah, Michelle said he had his maximum on it. Yeah.
20 rand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, listen, we've got to take a break. We've got racing coming up from the US of A, so we'll be back with you with Blast from the Past.
Gates
are open. Soft falling rain, pulling clear. Soft falling rain won the SA Nursery by 3.
Racing in the 2000 Guineas. Gates fly and they're racing in the Godolphin Mile.
They're off and racing.
Weight didn't matter. Class tells, soft falling rain, much too good. Soft falling rain, an impressive Guineas winner. Soft falling rain is drawing clear.
He's made it 7 out of 7 by winning here today.
But it's soft falling rain who is powering away. We'll see out the mile in style. A high-class performer wins the Nay of Joel Stakes.
Western Alliance goes in, 2,450 metres. The South African Derby field sends on its way. 40 bars at the rail, hopped out nicely. Harvest Rose outside of that. Foreign Press, Flying Duel is up there also, and then Master Management, and they've been followed then by Kale and Ingleside. Western Alliance, the grey, is back 6 lengths off the leader. 1 length away to Royal Tours, and the Delegator, those two at the back of the field, and 8 lengths off that leader. Onto the backstretch they go and past the 2,000, and it's 40 bars that leads the field by a half a length. The Foreign Press in second, Harvest Rose third. Flying Duel back in fourth position with Master Management behind that, and Kale, Western Alliance, and they've been followed by Ingleside and Royal Tours. At the back of the field is the Delegator. Now I would say 10 lengths off the leader. They've just gone past the 1,800 with Foreign Press on the lead. 40 bars racing away in second. 2 lengths away then comes Harvest Rose in third. Flying Duel gets up fourth, and Flying Duel is 5 off the leader. Master Management is running inside of that one. They've been followed by Kale, and then comes Western Alliance and Ingleside behind that. Royal Tours is 10 lengths off the leader. The Delegators at the back, and now I would say a dozen lengths would cover the field. 1,200 to go, and Foreign Press now has officially won the battle for the lead by a length and a half to 40 bars, 2 lengths away to Harvest Rose. Flying Duel is in the perfect spot, couldn't get a better position, 5 lengths off the leader and hugging the rail. Then there's a length away to Master Management with Kale on the far side, another length away Western Alliance. Ingleside in behind that, and the Delegator's gone past Royal Tours, and they 10 off the leader. Now they approach the 800-metre marker. Foreign Press by 1 length to 40 bars. Harvest Rose third. Flying Duel is 4 lengths off that leader. Then Master Management and Kale. The Delegator swings for home, and now 5 lengths off that leader. Western Alliance, Royal Tours in behind that, and then comes Ingleside. Come down past the 600, Foreign Press from Harvest Rose. Then comes Flying Duel, the red cap up the centre of the track. Kale is 3 off the leader. The Delegator and Royal Tours is gaining on the outside. They come down to the last 300. It's Foreign Press still in front from Flying Duel. Kale, Royal Tours erupting into action up the outside of the track now inside the final 150. Foreign Press still in front. Kale makes a race of it. Royal Tours outside of that one. Kale and Royal Tours come together. Kale, Royal Tours. It's Kale in front and just doing enough, and Kale has lasted long enough. Kale the winner from maybe Harvest Rose, and on the outside.
Well, there you go. Patrick Shaw, Johnny Giroudis at their best. That's before they went to set the turf tracks alight at Singapore.
Absolutely. Good to bring those memories back. I mean, some of those horses you really forgot about, eh?
Yeah.
But what I like to see, James, was a good gallop in the race, and the best stayer won. But they finished on top of each other. But I thought a great ride from Johnny Giroudis and Pat Shaw. That was before everything started happening. I think Mike de Kock and Pat Shaw had started slowly showing their cards, and they were coming onto the scene. 1998.
Well, the Delegator was another one of Patrick's horses. I think he had 3 runners in the race, and Ingleside, I think he was in the race as well, if you listen to the commentary carefully.
Yeah.
Flying Duel must have been Terence Millard's, I think.
It was Tony Millard, I think.
Millard.
I think Tony had taken over then, but yeah, no, listen, there was some top horses in the race. It was a small selective field, but top horses.
Yeah, very, very good race indeed. I think Harvest Rose ran second. It must have been Ferraris's horse, I think.
That will be David Ferraris.
Just by memory, we actually don't have the result in front of us. We're just going through it. But nice to see Johnny G at his best, winning the Derby 1998. That was Kale. Let's go and have a look at our Plum of the Week.
they come to the 400-meter marker. Atsarock's the leader. Killer Woman, Thunder, Boschery's trying to go through, Glimmer of Silver's running through down the inside, and then Roy's Monkey. 200 to go though, Killer Woman now comes at Thunder, these are the two. Down the inside, Roy's Monkey, Thunder and Killer Woman over the last 100, but now Killer Woman takes it up. Killer Woman's the leader from Thunder, and Killer Woman will win. Killer Woman from Thunder, Boschery ran third, 11 ran fourth, and then Roy's Monkey.
Well, if ever you're going to have a bet, yesterday at Scottsville, Killer Woman looked like the business. You could have got 12 to 15 to 10 at any stage on Interbet. She did shorten in to about 7 to 10 or 8 to 10. She started 6 to 10. You could have got close to even money at the time with Interbet. So you've got to get an Interbet account. But she did look like the business, this filly. She looked like she's had the come-on look, progressive, Rip Van Winkle filly.
Absolutely, James. I looked at her in the ring. She looked absolutely magnificent. You know, Tony really does turn his horses out well, and it was very nice to see Mrs. Liley back in the winner's box. She's been in the game for many and many years, and she puts her money where her mouth is. And if she can get one that can run a bit, it's only too pleasing for the public to see.
Yeah, very nice filly this, and she's, as I say, by Rip Van Winkle, she'll be going a lot further than that. She only really got going the last bit, and back in time, Brandon Lorena, he's been riding in Mauritius. I think he was leading the championship at one stage, but he's come back here.
Yeah, unfortunately, he had a fallout with Ricky Mangard, which most jockeys in the world have, and owners and everybody.
But did you ride for Ricky Mangard?
I rode for Ricky. Everybody's rode for Ricky Mangard. You get your 3-month spell. You don't unpack your suitcase or take your toothbrush out. You just leave it in the bag because you don't know where to go. But I think as a big loss to Mauritian racing. Brandon was really riding at his top of his game then, and we've only got one foreign jockey left there, Derek David. The rest are all locals because, as you know, the Mauritian Turf Club, they've put bans on Cedric Signon and quite a few of the jocks there. It's not easy to work in a third world country. They've got their own little laws and that, but it's good to have Brandon back here. I think he's a world-class rider. He's got his weight down. I spoke to him yesterday, 55 kilos. Which is fantastic, and I think he'll do very, very, very well. And Rip Van Winkle, when I was with Mark de Kock in England after Dubai, and that he was racing, he was one of the magnificent 21 Group 1 winners Johnny Murta had in one season, and he was one of them. He was a fantastic stayer and a great horse to watch. Duke of Marmalade, Rip Van Winkle, they were all in that era, and I remember him, he was a top horse.
Oh yeah, O'Brien's had them, hasn't he? And we'll be talking about a couple of them in current affairs. So we're going to go and take a little break, and we'll be back with current affairs. Well, we've just had the National 2-year-old sale in Johannesburg, and a real difficult sale, but everything gets sold there, and you could have bought some real bargains. But the big stud was Fastfontein.
Yeah, no, James, they were a standout. There were some lovely bred horses, and it was nice to see all the trainers back at races yesterday and speaking to Michael Roberts and all the guys. How did you go? Duncan Howes, how did you go? How many babies did you got? And they all got their quota, and they got themselves a chance for, you know what they say, you're only as strong as your 2-year-old. So they've got stock, and it's going to be great to see. I think it's a good sale. For the smaller trainers, for 60 and 80 grand, you can buy some very well bred horses, and some top horses have come off that sale.
Well, the jet plane's probably the most famous of all, 70 grand. bought there by first timers. They found him.
Yeah, they found him when they were sitting in the pub with Lucky, and then when they went and looked him at the next day, nobody wanted the horse, but they all got in as mates, and look at that, there's a story to tell. He went on internationally and won a Group 1 in Dubai and in Hong Kong.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So that was the 2-year-old sale. As far as the rest is concerned, we've had the Equus Awards last week, and a very interesting Horse of the Year, Futura.
Yeah, I don't think there was any surprises on the results we saw there. Futura deserved it, 3 Group 1s. The winning the Queen's Plate in the Met is just on its own, I think, would have made him Horse of the Year. But then coming to win Champion Stakes, well, Champion done very well. Everybody else, I think, was in order. I listened to the speeches everybody gave. It was fantastic to hear.
Sean Terry's speech was incredible, but if he'd been at the Oscars, they wouldn't have allowed him to talk that long.
No, he stayed on a little bit long, but with his new technology, reading from his phone, he's lucky he doesn't wear glasses yet. He would have been battling with that. And Gavin's speech was actually really heartwarming. You know, you could feel where he's come from, and to get touched off by one winner that year when he fell off and hurt his shoulder and he's off for 6 weeks. And sometimes you always think maybe you're not going to get another chance, but he got out there and he worked hard and he won it. And yeah, they all Mark de Kock getting his awards again. Yeah, it was a fantastic scale. Ingrid Markets, what they put into the game is fantastic.
And the guy who won the award for the media television, Kevin Harris, you know, he's put together that documentary on Samanga Kamalo.
Yeah.
Did you get to see that?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I watched it on TV. I didn't go to the movie and watch it. But he also spoke from his heart how racing's really. He started in the old days with taking his PAs and following racing, and yeah, it's fantastic. These guys that have got their heart in the game. I think it's great to have them in the game.
All right. Well, let's go overseas and have a look. Oratorio stands at stud here, and he had another Group 2 winner.
Yeah, no, these stallions, they're winning everywhere. I see Pippa also, that's Pippa. She's posting on social media every time they have a win overseas, and it's fantastic. I mean, I think he's going to be a top stallion. If you look at him and you speak to the trainers, I mean, he's an absolutely magnificent looking animal.
Well, he was a horse called Mourinho, but the Mourinho we know didn't have a very good weekend.
No, Jose, he says it was a false result, 3-0.
Yeah. He says we played best the second half, but they scored 2 goals against us.
Yeah, but he missed the first half. They could have been 5-0 down. So I don't know where he got that speech from, but I'd rather stick with the Mourinho, the stallion.
Mourinho, the horse racing in Australia.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, as a Manchester United fan, you must have been very unhappy that Manchester City won so easily.
I didn't know who to support. I didn't want to support City, and I didn't want to support Chelsea. But I like to see Mourinho get his feathers ruffled a little bit and see how he's going to box out of it. Because I mean, they got 1 point. It's not a good start for them. I'd hate to make the phone call to Roman Abramovich to tell him that his 200 million he spent is sitting on the bench and nothing's happening. So for me, I don't think it was a very good start. And Arsenal, they've jumped out not too bad as well. So.
Well, yeah, they didn't start too well. You know. Don't talk to us about Arsenal, okay? You know?
Yeah. So, no, listen, it's been a very interesting league this year. The way it's all started, these small clubs, they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah, and well, last year, if you remember last year, there were a couple of those small clubs. Southampton was up there in the firing line in the early part of the season. They fell away because it gets more and more difficult. But that's when it tells what type of players you've got to buy. It's fascinating this league because you're a dyed-in-the-wool Manchester United supporter. You look like one because they all look the same, you know. But you know, you can't talk sense to them. They've got no idea. I know Ivan Moore. I try and talk to him in the morning. He's no idea. The only thing that you're missing is Ferguson.
No, I'm happy with our manager. We need a striker. There's no doubt about it. He needs to pull Rooney back, put a striker up front, and we'll sort them out. I think we've sorted the defence and the midfield out.
Well, we don't need to get Budgie Byrne back in the studio on that little soccer lesson. We'll be back with a little more news when you finish here. Right, Kev, we're back with news, and there was the big Arlington Million race day, and the horse that won was Gary Lenton's best friend.
Yeah, no, listen.
The Pizza Man.
The Pizza Man, yeah. It's an absolute fantastic meeting. I can talk from experience. Mark and I went there in 2008 with Archie Pinker. it's a great. The guy who owns Arlington Million he entertains you at his house and everything. It's the most amazing weekend. It's very professionally run, and it's strange to say it, but one man owns that racecourse. He is the owner of the racecourse, and he runs it, and it's fascinating. It's how the whole day goes ahead. I mean, we were lucky enough to see some top horses running there.
What happened in Arlington Million the year that you were there with Archie Baker?
Well, he drew one.
Yeah.
I got caught on the fence.
Let's get the story from the jockey's mouth.
From the horse's mouth. I put him in the box seat, and I had Johnny Murder, as I call him, on my outside. And if you watch the race, I actually posted on social media. He is no way he's going to let me out, and should have won a minute. We took it on the chin, and we were just quite surprised he never let me out. But I must have been old team. Mark de Kock, he was one of the first guys to improve on Aidan O'Brien, and I don't think it went down too well. He was taking their throwouts and winning Group 1s with him around the world, so it didn't go down too well. Eventually let him out and let me out, and I got beat like a half a length. But the horse that he rode had actually done a tendon in the race, and you can just see him. He just rides it. He's riding his heart out just to make sure I can't get out. And the horse that went to the front, I couldn't get past him. But we took it on the chin, and Johnny Murter was riding for us in Dubai then. The next season, Christophe Soumillon was there, so I don't think he done himself any favours.
Yeah, and Christophe Soumillon certainly did himself a few favours there. I saw a picture on social media, funnily enough, of Christophe Soumillon in the hedge on one of Aga Khan's horses, and the posting was taken to jump racing. Flats too boring. I think the horse ran into the hedge at Longchamp.
Yeah, you could easily run into the hedges around some of those tracks. I mean, Durbanville used to have one, and if you got stuck into the hedge, you could be sitting up third and turn for home last. Yeah. So.
Well, there was the famous hedge was the one at Kenilworth. I think they had a hedge in the early days, and Bert Sage jumped into the hedge on the pacemaker from in the Met.
No, that was before my time. Just jumped in, he was a soft landing.
Well, they pulled the horse off the hedge and pulled it back on and bailed off. He said this horse was running and thought the horse had gone wrong, so he bailed out.
I'd love to
Meanwhile, he was a pacemaker, and they backed something else, so he thought he'd better jump off. Anyway, just talking about the Arlington Million race day, we say the Pizza Man won the big race, but the American St. Ledger, which is for all-aged horses, was won by a Solvana. And you know, Silvano stands at main chance, and he's the leading sire in this country. So very interesting.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, he just shows you they win everywhere. That is Aidan O'Brien's, wasn't it? And Hefferman.
No, the Silvano was trained in
the American
Germany.
horse.
Germany
horse.
Yeah, he's a German horse. He won the American St. Ledger. Aidan O'Brien and Heffernan, they won something else.
Beverly D, wasn't it, or something like that?
No, they won. Highland Reel by Galileo won the Secretariat Stakes.
Oh, that's right, the Secretariat
Stakes at Arlington. It's another Group 1. Jamie Heffernan's first runner in Shamey, I think his name's Seamus.
Seamus Heffernan.
First ride in America. So he's obviously getting a few rides there now. And this horse, Highland Reel, that won, it's by Galileo. They're talking about it either going for the Cox Plate or going for the Arc.
Yeah, I saw that. The Cox Plate was a mention. That Beverly D is a Group 1, and it pushes big value onto your...
That's the fillies race.
The fillies race, puts big value onto them. And I'll tell you, you look every year, it's not always the strongest and the best field. So you can go, if you can slip over to Arlington...
I think Mike won it with the filly that you won on, didn't he?
Iridescence, wasn't it?
Iridescence, or that other filly that Mike Bass used to train. Just talking about Mike Bass, our prayers and thoughts with Mike and his family, because he's not very well, and we really, really hope that he comes through this very, very terrible time. So, you know, it's shocking.
Yeah. No, we don't like to hear this. We've got Paul on one side, and we've got Mike on the other side. Just instantly went man down, got pneumonia, and he went into hospital. And
he's on life support. He's not good. So let's just pray for Mike Bass. But just talking about it, was that filly that you rode in the Lionel Cohen's filly.
Sun Classique.
Did she not go for the Beverly D?
No, she never went. I wish she would have gone there, because she was a good filly. A very tight track, James. It doesn't look so tight, but a very tight track. When you turn around the bottom corner, that's 800 meters to go. So the guys are all chasing when they're still turning, a typical American track. But I got caught on the fence there, no false rail, and
Well, what happened this year was Jamie Spencer won it on a filly called Special Gesture from Qatar Racing. And David Redford, the racing manager, was distraught because they took the race away from him. She drifted across onto the second horse, which ended up running third. Stephanie's Kitten ended up running third, got beaten ahead for second. And they took the race away from the winner and demoted it to third. And so Stephanie's Kitten never even got the race. That was the one that should have won.
Should have won, yeah.
And that was the Beverly D. And I know that Euro Charlene, which is Barry Irwin's horse, ran fourth in the race. So that was the day at Arlington. And I'm just trying to think of the guy's name who owns Arlington. It was Hutch. Crikey, I know him. I know the chap's name. Anyway, just talking about trainers, John Nearad, he was one of the greatest trainers in America ever. 102, he died this week, and he was one of the guys who was instrumental in starting up the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, a lot of racing people wouldn't even know about this guy. Well, I didn't really know about it until you actually read up about him. But I mean, you can elaborate on what assistant trainers he had and how he gave them chances and who they became. So you must know he must be a very influential man. He must have known what he's doing, and to start something like the Breeders' Cup today is a highlight of the racing calendar.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that was very successful in his heyday and toned down and then just trained a few horses for his mates and whatever, and really enjoyed training till the end of his training days. But he started guys like Scotty Schooloffer, D. Wayne Lucas, the whole team of really, really good trainers in America today. This guy gave them a chance. And one of the guys, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. When one of the guys made the speech, they said that without this guy, he would never have got anywhere, you know.
That's fantastic. Nice to see him getting a bit of credibility.
Yeah. The big sales in France at Akana, which is Deauville. South Africa, they're buying.
South Africa, they're buying. You've got to take your big wallet when you go there now, because it's euros. Yeah, we went to one of those sales over there. It's scary, and I mean the euro at the moment now has gone through the roof. But this was 6 or 7 years ago, and they're 30, 40, 50, 60,000 euros. They bid there like good things, but beautiful animals there. We went around with John McVeigh and Mark and a couple of the guys. Yeah, it's a serious sale, and some very well-bred horses go there.
Well, the South Africans, Form Bloodstock and Mayfair Speculators, which is Marcus Jooster and Shahan, in partnership bought Galileo for 450,000 and Philly for 350,000. But they never got close, these guys, to John Ferguson from Sheikh.
That'll be Sheikh Mohammed or Sheikh Hamdan.
Yeah.
That'll be Sheikh Mohammed.
Yeah.
No, listen, those guys in a different league. You know, they just buy what they want. I think what is it? 1.2 was it?
Yeah, he bought one for 2.6 million at Dubai Colt. That was the top price.
2.6 million euros. You don't want to work that out. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. But Dubai, you can see he's producing the goods. They used to, Sheikh Mohammed raced him now, and there's some top horses coming out of it.
11 yearlings, 6.9 million euros they spent on 11 yearlings.
Yeah, that's
imagine trying to take on that lot.
Yeah, no, listen, and they're all bred in the purple.
Yeah, the only other bit of news was Duke of Marmalade had his 23rd stakes winner. You know, Duke of Marmalade standing down in the Cape.
Yeah.
And Orange Sun won a stakes race in Italy for Stefano Botti. So, you know, he's firing and he's out here.
Yeah, Duke of Marmalade was another one of those ones that fall into the Rip van Winkle era. I mean, Johnny Murta had 21 Group 1 wins in a season. It's absolutely unbelievable, and he was one of them. We watched him race at Royal Ascot. He was a small little horse, quite stocky, but absolute machine.
Yeah, well, he's here as well, so we're having a wonderful time. Kev, thank you so much for joining us on the show and doing the business here. Always a pleasure.
Only a pleasure, James. I don't have to wake up at 4 in the morning anymore to go to work. So to get you by 8:30, it's actual breeze. And we sat up last night until 1:30 to finish watching the golf. Jason Day to eventually do something that he's had a dream on. He's had his hand on the cup 3 times and he's run second, and now he's pulled it off. And Jordan Spieth to be world number 1 now, so Rory's got a bit of work to do.
Well, Rory's ankle will come right. He'll end up taking over again. There'll be no problem with that. Just a couple of winners from Magic Millions. We've got Latasha and Marmalady. They're both Magic Millions candidates, and nice to see them come out here and win. We're going to be going and having a chat with Graham Hawkins in your call. Don't miss it.
He responds and Our Giant roars away. He's going to take the glory. Our Giant taking no prisoners by 4. Let's hear it for Our Giant, Anton Marcus and Charles Lee.
Well, the Champions season is over, and as promised earlier in the show, when the Champions season is over, we speak to the guy who ran the whole Champions season and find out exactly what it's all about. And there's none other than Graham Hawkins in the studio with me. And Graham, nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much, James. Nice to be back. Nice to see the dust settle on another very successful Champions season, I think. And yeah, so it's back to reality. All the great champions, the great riders, etc., back to where they came from. But it's always a great time of the year: May, June, and July. In fact, from March onwards, as we go through a few of the curtain raisers, and it just seemed to absolutely fly by this year.
Well, interestingly enough, it was a groundbreaking year. Everyone was at Summerfelt, and there were whisperings that there would be problems there. Did that work out okay?
It seems to me that Tony did a fantastic job in managing. It's all about managing people rather than managing facilities, as you know. When the horses are fine with each other. I've never yet. Well, occasionally you see a horse argue with each other, but generally it's the people you've got to manage. And I think he did a fantastic job in that regard. And certainly the feedback that we've had from the guys who've traditionally stabled at Clarewood over Champion season has been very positive. Certainly in terms of the tracks and the new stables, etc. So I think it's a solid platform from which to go forward. We'd obviously like to formally engage with them, which we will do over the next couple of months ahead of planning for next year. Engage with the visiting trainers just to get personal feedback on a one-on-one basis. So that if there are any imperfections that we can put right, we would certainly like to do that, because obviously Champion season is what it says it is. It's bringing the best of everything into KwaZulu-Natal for what I think we can accurately describe as the National Championships of South African Racing. We saw again at the Equus Awards this past week that a number of those awards were sealed during Champion season. And obviously we want the guys to be comfortable. We want the horses to be comfortable. We want the trainers to be comfortable. We want the owners to be confident that their horses are being trained in an environment that is conducive to bringing out the best in them. So yes, it was great at Summerfelt. And having said that, I must also comment on Ashburton. Obviously we had a couple of the trainers down at Ashburton, and more I think particularly the Highveld trainers are becoming more comfortable with Ashburton as also being a first-class training centre, which it is. It doesn't necessarily have all the tracks that Summerfelt has, but you get a degree of comfort in that it's a lot less busy, and you're able to do your own thing a lot more than you might be able to do at Summerfelt, where obviously part of the recipe for success is consideration for your fellow trainer. Summerfelt is busy, obviously it's busy all year round, but certainly during Champion season it's very busy, and it becomes very important for the guys to realize that it's give and take, and you've really got to make an effort to get on with each other. And I think that happened this year.
Well, when you look at Summerfelt specifically, it's probably the only training centre in South Africa that's got 2 grass tracks, fully functional. I think 4 sand tracks and a poly track. So it's got every type of facility that you need. You've also built those new stables, 500 new stables there, which seem to be a hit. Everyone loves them.
Yes, no, the stables in particular, the new stables were very popular. I still think they're perhaps a little too on the large side. They're a little too big, and obviously cost quite a bit to equip them out with bedding, etc. But the horses are very comfortable. The stable environment is very nice with all of the extra facilities, the offices and etc. So I think from that perspective, and access to, there was always this concern of access from the new stables through to the tracks, and what happens if horses get loose. All of those concerns, which were legitimate concerns at the time, you know, not only from the point of view of the raiding trainers, but also those trainers, KwaZulu-Natal-based trainers, who used to train at Clarewood. There were all sorts of questions in their minds as to how was it going to be and how were they going to adapt. Well, if you go back to last year, soon after the move, which officially happened at around this time, they came out of the blocks flying. So, you know, there was no interruption in the flow of winners for the trainers that used to train at Clarewood. So I would like to suggest that the transition from a training centre perspective from Clarewood to Summerveld has gone far better than anyone could have expected.
Are there any plans in expanding Summerveld anymore? Because, as you know, it was absolutely chock-a-block.
I think there is always going to be a plan to expand Summerveld, not in terms of making more facilities for more horses, but creating better facilities for those that are there. We recognise that when all of the visiting trainers are there, and 1,500 horses, 1,600 horses are being trained, including some of those that come from the off-site facilities, such as you know, Sabine Platner's place and Callaway Park, etc., where Mike has a few horses. You know, you get up to 1,600 horses training there in the morning, and probably one of the busiest training centres in the world. There is space, and so obviously we had to consolidate. We had to do what we had to do first, and make sure that we did that properly. We were under pressure in terms of the time that we had. We had secured the use of Clarewood for 2 years after the sale went through. And we had to complete the Summerveld project in that time. So we were obviously focused on getting the bare necessities in place. Now we can certainly take a deep breath and look and see, okay. And that's one of the reasons why I said we want to go chat to the guys, because it'll be interesting to get their feedback. As you know, we communicate quite regularly with the Summerveld trainers. In fact, we've got our next Summerveld breakfast meeting there next month, Ashburton, in a couple of days. You know, we can all now have an opportunity to get back to the drawing board, reflect on champion season, reflect on the future, and what needs to be done. And I guess there will be plans drawn up to ensure that we can make life at Summerveld even more comfortable for everybody that's there throughout the year, and also for those that jet into town for champion season.
All right, then let's move on now to Greyville, the flagship track. You've now divided it into 2 tracks. It's the poly track and the grass. How do you see the season went? And I see that you've done a whole new spring treatment on the grass, so you're obviously readying up for next year.
Yes, always at this time of the year, after the conclusion of Super Saturday, the grass track at Greyville gets scarified. I think people forget that we've got 2 different climates for our 2 KwaZulu-Natal tracks. Scottsville in Pietermaritzburg, very different climate to Greyville here on the coast. Scottsville gets a lot of frost. In fact, we had a very heavy frost just the other day at Scottsville still. We don't get frost at Greyville, and obviously for that reason the Scottsville spring treatment comes later in the year, and it's due for its spring treatment in October. And obviously Scottsville you know, is also obviously now ready for its spring treatment, but we don't want to make the same mistake as we made last year by closing the 2 grass tracks at the same time, and we assured all of our stakeholders that we wouldn't do that. So we've commenced with the Greyville spring treatment. It's not as heavy or as deep a spring treatment as last year. The track held up extremely well throughout the winter season. Whatever anybody might have had negative to say about Greyville, the grass track stood up right through Super Saturday like never before. And yes, obviously we raced on it less, and yes, obviously we looked after it. That's obviously part of the plan. The reality is the track is narrower, and therefore there is a greater responsibility for us to use the track responsibly. Somebody said to me, well, it's now just become a showpiece for the winter season. That's absolutely not the case. We will race on it as much as is possible. But the days, as we said last year, and if you look at the program through that has just been published, which takes us through to the end of February, the days of grass-only meetings at Gravel, there will always be a combination of poly and turf. We've got to be able to move the rail around. We don't have too much room to move the rail around, given the new width of the track. But the track raced well. Certainly the jockeys were very complimentary. It's a sweeping turn. They feel the straight seems to be a little bit longer. There's no need, as we've seen in recent weeks, to go to the outside fence as they did on Vodacom Durban July Day. The debate will rage as to whether we should continue with 18 runners in the Vodacom Durban July, and you saw that after suffering a bit of interference towards the outside rail, Anton Marcus wasted no time in realigning his sights on same jurisdiction in the Garden Province Stakes and going right down the inside. And we saw on Super Saturday that you can certainly go down the inside. So this perception that you've got to hug the outside rail is a nonsense. And obviously there's a responsibility on the riders to use the whole track. I think, though, that we will cut the rail back as we experimented with Super Saturday. So next year's Vodacom Durban July, probably a 1.5 to 2 metre rail, just to aid them to use the whole track. And as Pierre Stradham so professionally and maturely said to me in the parade ring after the Vodacom Durban July, he said, you know, Graham, it's not your fault and it's not the track's fault, it's our fault. Us riders, we must learn to use the whole track. And I think we saw that on Super Saturday. And we saw them winning from all over the place, from the inside rail to the outside rail. But the track itself held up really well. The quality of the grass right through the winter was fantastic. Now, obviously we were aided, in a sense, by the fact that there was absolutely no rain. Because as you know, James, when you race in the winter time when there's no growth, on a soft track you just chop it up, as we've seen on the Highveld from time to time when they get out of season rains. On the other hand, of course, we had to water quite a lot just to try and keep some moisture in the ground. And but I think that guys did a fantastic job, and we will continue to race sparingly on the grass track to preserve it, and we make no apology for that. You know, I mentioned to one trainer down at the 2-year-old sale, which was last week, that you know, most of the tracks in the world, even Flemington and some of those wonderful tracks where they don't race more than 22 race meetings, 22 race meetings at a grass track around the year. And that's to keep it in good condition. Obviously, some of the big English tracks, you've got so much space, you can create almost 10 racetracks in one facility. And they still don't race there all that often. So grass is something you need to preserve. So I think people, punters, stakeholders, owners, trainers, jockeys in KwaZulu-Natal must get used to the fact that the gravel grass track, it's not precious, but it's going to be used responsibly. And so obviously approximately half of the races, as we said last year, it's no surprise, we sat down with the trainers through the course of last year as we were preparing for the season that's just ended. Approximately half the races in KwaZulu-Natal going forward are going to be on the poly track. Because Scottsville, obviously, you can only race so many times. We're racing the sprint races up the outside track and the round the turn races on the inside track to divide the wear and tear between them. And that's the way it's going to be. You know, I have no magic wand to change that. So if some people are uncomfortable with that, they need to review how they're going to strategize their racing. But I think polytrack's going to become a reality in the Western Cape eventually, and certainly on the Highveld. There's certainly now moves on the Highveld with a decision being made to do away with the sand track to seriously consider. I don't know whether it's a done deal, and I'm not suggesting that it is. But clearly the communications that have come out of Phumelela is that they're now seriously considering the installation of the polytrack on the inside track at Turfentine. And the reality is those surfaces through the harsh times of the year, and we all have our harsh times of the year, are the right surfaces. As far as the polytrack is concerned, we have had some issues. We've had the Martin Collins team out. Obviously we're still getting to grips with how the varying temperatures, you know, how the track reacts to those various temperatures. And we've made now some changes to our maintenance regime, and we will continue to do so. It's no different to any other track. As much as it races more consistently in the sense that it's smooth all the time, it's got no divots, it's not bumpy like a grass track can become, the reality is that it reacts differently to different climatic conditions, and we will continue to learn. And it's as much as we want to achieve as much consistency as possible, it's never going to be exactly the same from day to day, as indeed a turf track isn't.
Yeah, there has been chat about the poly track that in the evening it races differently to in the daytime. Do you see that as a concern?
I don't see it as a concern. I think it's something that we need to get to understand. You know, it's a brand new baby. It's a baby that's a year old.
But it's done well in the year.
I love it. You know, I make no apology as a senior executive at Gold Circle to say that I love the Polytrack. I think the results have been favourable. I don't think that there is any reason for a punter to view the track with any degree of circumspection. I think the results have been as favourable, if not more favourable, as the more traditional turf track. I think we'd like to see better races starting to come onto the poly, certainly at listed race level, etc. But yes, we will continue to learn, and we will continue to interact with the Martin Collins team, and because it is a learning curve, but I think it'll get better.
All right, well, that's a sort of overview. Now let's chat about some of the highlights. We've only got a couple of minutes to go. A couple of highlights of the season.
Well, I just think it's, as I said, it flew by. I thought we had a fantastic Vodacom Durban July. It seems, again, a beautifully behaved crowd in general terms. It's quite a remarkable sporting event to have 55,000 people in a venue for as long as we have. I mean, it's not unusual for 100,000 or 110,000 people to be seated in a seat, so to speak, and watching for an hour and a half or whatever. So thanks to them, it was a great day. Obviously, you always have the odd incident, and we will continue to try and work on making those even more scarce in the future. But I thought it was a fantastic day. Super Saturday. Ironically, we had no rain through the winter, but
it worked out well.
But actually, it came out, and forced a week's postponement of Super Saturday, but it was great. It really turned out fantastically well. The highlights, well, yeah. I think that obviously seeing captain of all win so well here at home, admittedly he's undefeated at Scottsville, his Mercury Sprint, I don't necessarily agree that he's a 126. Interestingly, I think I saw internationally he's been rated a 121, which I think is closer to the truth. But he's retired to stud now of those two spectacular wins. His win in the Mercury was absolutely spectacular. I think that Futura's victory over Ice Machine in the Champions Cup was something to behold. I mean, two great jockeys, two very good horses, and he grabbed victory from the jaws of defeat. It was almost if Ice Machine didn't quite see out the last 10 meters of the race. And I suppose the same could be said for Arabian Beat in the Grade 1 on Vodacom Durban July. They were 7th place. Now the Equus Award was in the balance as the two came together with about 100 meters to go for champion 2-year-old colt, and it was decided by that far. But again, a superb ride there by Anton Marcus. I think the quality of riding was out of the top draw. We really enjoyed the introduction of the Interprovincial Jockeys Challenge, the Ryder Cup, which I think deserves to be a standalone meeting. So it gives us more options. On Mercury Sprint Day, while it was nice to have the Mercury as a partner for the day, because of the number of feature races, it limited the options and the quality of fields available to us for the Interprovincial Challenge. So that's going to change next year. It'll be a standalone meeting and give us more options to get better types of rides for the guys, and that I think has got a bright future. T20 racing.
T20 racing.
We're going to put 3 race meetings on through the night race meeting, which commences on the 4th of September, our night racing season. It's just around the corner again. We go every single Friday night from the 4th of September right through to the end of April. And we will continue to experiment with the T20 meetings. We'll have 3. We've got 3 scheduled for the period. 1 in October, I think 1 in December, and 1 in January or February, but don't hold me to that. The program is out. I think the first one's in October. But it was just a fantastic season all round. So, obviously the Vodacom Durban July race day is always a highlight, as is Super Saturday. But the Guineas Day, Daily News Day, the Gold Cup, the Elan Property Group Gold Cup.
Horse Day is
Golden Horse Day.
It's a unique day as well.
Unique day with the sprinters. It's difficult to single out any one performance. But the finish that really got me going was the finish of the Champions Cup. I mean, that Futura came back when almost certainly looking beaten, epitomised on the last day of the season, still hungry for victory right there at the very last, and essentially clinched at the Equus Awards the Horse of the Year title as a result of that win. I think it was a fantastic performance.
Well, Graham, we've got to wrap, and after this mouth-watering episode, we're looking forward to next year's champion season. even more so. I think it's just growing and getting better and better, and it is a unique season because nowhere in the world do you have a 3-month or 4-month racing season at any race centre. You know, Saratoga's 28 days and Del Mar and all these places, and even England you have Ascot 4 days. We have a unique situation here, which I think you guys are doing a wonderful job of preserving.
Well, I must say we're obviously very fortunate, you know, the way that the South African racing seasons are set up. You know, it brings the best of the horses here because largely, you know, we've got the best climate at this time of the year. So, and it's been that way for a very long time. And and you know what, as I said also, we must pay tribute to our fantastic base of racing fans in KwaZulu-Natal. They still love their racing for racing's sake. Yes, they also like to win and they like to have a bet, but they do understand what goes on in racing, and they do appreciate the performances of top riders, top trainers, and top horses, and they're a knowledgeable base of fans. And I have to say that I got such wonderful feedback from the fans on the ground. Greyville is looking great from a facilities point of view. We've still got plans to do further upgrades and to make Friday night racing exciting and to keep the momentum going, because there's been a great atmosphere here. I'm happy to say that while we've come off another difficult financial year, we are committed to, in the new year, abiding by the minimum set out by the Graded Races Committee in respect of the listed Grade 3 and Grade 2 races. So those stakes are going up in the coming year. Grade 1s we'll have to attend to the following year because they're meant to be all $1 million at least, and we're not quite there yet. All maiden races will go up from 75,000, or have gone up from 1 August to 80,000 rands. And hopefully we will be able to, through the year, have a look and see whether or not it would be possible to have a general stakes increase, but we are putting up what we can in the meantime. So yeah, there's lots to look forward to in the new season, and as I said, night racing getting underway on the 4th of September. It's a great place to be, Friday nights here at Greyville. So I think we're in for another good year.
Always a sellout crowd, Graham. Unfortunately, we've got to go and watch some race at Del Mar or somewhere. So thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to see your son of Silvana won the American St. Ledger.
Yeah.
I want to try and work out how a 3-year-old got to America by Silvana.
5-year-old.
Is it a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, so we're not the only ones who run classic races for all ages.
You
Okay, I'm very pleased that
you're dying to get that in, weren't you? Well done, us and the Americans.
Yes, and the Australians and the English. The Yorkshire Oaks, one of the great races of the world, is for all ages. So we're not the only ones who do it.
I knew you'd
In fact, we follow great examples.
I knew that you'd slip that in somewhere. But thank you so much again for joining us, and really, always wonderful to chat to you. And let's look forward to next year's fantastic
I just must end up by saying, if you give me, you started off the show by saying the person in charge. That I may be the captain of a team, but I've got a team. Champion season takes a lot of attention to detail, a lot of work, service providers, etc. Planning starts well in advance, as you would know. So to my team out there, I'm not going to mention anybody. The Gold Circle team did a fantastic job, as always, in presenting champion season in a truly professional manner.
Well, Graham Hawkins, you can see why we have a captain of the ship who's probably the best captain you could have. It's absolutely wonderful to have had him in the show. And as you've seen, champion season is a tremendous success. It is probably the most unique racing season anywhere in the world, as we've said. And my goodness gracious, do they do a wonderful job. We've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Second position by Military Roses, giving them a bath. That's one of the biggest millions I've ever seen. Grace Valana, the leader. Grace Valana.